And welcome back to episode 84, the weekly tech rant with me, Jay.
And me, Carl.
Well, dear listeners, this is actually recording number 2 of the weekly tech rant, episode 84. As episode 1, which we tried to record yesterday, episode 84, take 1, encountered some technical difficulties, which has resulted in a dead microphone, which I'm staring at here, a dead snowball. It has served me well, but your time has come to go to the great tech heap in the sky. So hopefully this is coming through loud and clear as we are using backup facilities. Well, I am at least. Carl is not. Carl is on your standard recording equipment, aren't you?
I am indeed.
So then, let's kick off then this week. So we have got, well, it's acquisition time all over again, with the best part of over 15 billion plus being spent across the industry, with interesting players snapping stuff up. Kaseya probably been the interesting one there, and also Sailpoint. But we've also got some audio in there, Intel making some moves, and then we're going to talk Meta, Pegasus, TSMC, and Intel again, and of course the return of Tech Rat Rumor Mill with Quo. That's all I'm going to say. Quo's latest rumors, but it's not an Apple one, so hold fire. But there is some Apple rumors in there. Right then, Carl, should we get kicked off then with the first story of the week?
Yes, we should. Yes, we should do indeed.
You've forgotten how to speak, haven't you?
Get my words together. Yes, as you were mentioning, a Kaseya. Wow. So yes, that Kaseya, the one from the infamous ReEvil ransomware attack, where ReEvil infected their software, and Kaseya make remote IT management software with thousands of customers. So yeah, ReEvil infected their software and used their software to deliver ransomware to all Kaseya's customers. That was
a nice supply
chain
attack, wasn't it?
It was indeed. And I think this is probably too little too late, and they could have done with this a year and a half ago. But they've just bought a company called Datto for $6.2 billion, and they develop backup, disaster recovery, and ransomware protection solutions. So yeah, really could have done with that a year and a half ago.
What's the phrase? Horse bolted?
That's the one. Yep.
I mean, yeah. So Datto, as you say, Datto, quite an interesting little service here, aren't they? As you say, disaster recovery. Only been around, 7 years? 7 years?
Yeah, about that, I think.
Yeah, so 7 years. Started off as startup land, raised around 100 million over their sort of seeding period. Then they were picked up by Vista, who as we've said before, buy everything, it seems, isn't it? And I think, as you've mentioned before,
they do indeed.
I've
worked for a Vista equity company.
You have, haven't you? They typically buy up and take companies public, don't they? Again, and make a bit of profit. So they bought them in 2017, and then they were spun out back into a public company in 2020. So they've had Datto themselves have had an interesting little run, and then Kaseya have come along. But it's not Kaseya themselves, isn't it, that have kind of opened their wallet up here and splashed AL cash. It's a bit of a weird mix, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a whole conglomerate, really, isn't it? We've got Insight Partners, TPG, Temasek, Sixth Street, and other unnamed investors. But it seems like a large group are putting up this 6.2 billion.
Yeah, so Temasek's the one that jumped out to me. I think I said to you before. They're a part of a Singapore-based equity firm. They've got a really, really diverse portfolio across many different brands. They own even have a cybersecurity company that's kind of part funded by them as well. TPG is an American investment firm, which has got, I think it's somewhere in the nearly 115 billion, and TPG is like somewhere 300 billion plus in investments. So you got to ask, and I think we kind of were alluding to this, is what have Kaseya given up here, haven't they? Because if Kaseya aren't paying up front, what have they given up? Haven't they? What pound of flesh have they dropped, I guess, to these investment firms?
To the company, I imagine.
Possibly so.
Are they publicly traded?
That's
a private company.
Do you know, off the top of my head, I cannot remember. You know what will tell us? Google will tell us. Google. What have we got here?
No, what's it when you want something? Pre-IPO.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Yeah.
So I imagine they've given up a chunk of the company for that.
That is a very likely. Oh no, Kaseya are owned by Insight themselves.
Oh, are they? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So Insight have put some more money into it and then got the other guys to help out as well.
Yeah, so according to Wikipedia, so throw a pinch of salt in there with a large, large bucket of salt, probably. According to Wikipedia, Insight Partners have a large stake in Kaseya. Um, yeah, so
Or a
yeah, you're
larger
right.
stake now.
Well, a lot, yeah. So I would say then. So
Mm.
interesting. Yeah. So here you are. So owned by Insight Partners, Kaseya is headquartered in Miami with branch locations across the world. Blah blah blah. Been around since 2000. It has been acquired 13 companies, most of which have operate under their own brands, i.e., the Kaseya, including Unitrends. Oh, I remember them.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, interesting. They weren't they back up?
Okay.
Unitrends were back up, weren't they?
They
Yeah,
were, yeah. So
yeah.
maybe they are ready for their IPO. They're just bolstering their complete solution stack.
Well, and filling in the gap of supply chain
Yes.
concerns for ransomware. Yeah, the
Especially internal
the
concerns.
irony here is huge, isn't it? Ransomware.
It is.
But yeah, interesting to see what comes out of that, and whether or not, as you say, it'll be wrapped in as part of an offering, or whether it'll be kept separate. Who knows? But
Yeah. Who
yeah,
knows?
horse bolted definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who else have we got then splashing out
Well,
cash this week?
Sonos have been
Ooh,
splashing
yeah.
100 million on a company called Mate. They're a Danish company, Mayht. Mate,
Mate,
maybe, mate.
mate.
Yeah, my mate. Yeah, but when I've not heard of these guys before, but the tech looks pretty cool. So what they're doing is they built a really compact transducer for speakers. So that's the main part that converts the electrical energy into sound waves. But apparently well, according to the blurb on the website, it's 10 times more compact, flatter, and lightweight audio without comprising on sound quality or the maximum output. But from what I've seen, it's pretty cool tech. And say cool enough that Sonos splashed 100 million on it. Yeah, I think one of the byproducts I'm reading here is it's actually really low power, low power enough to run from solar panels.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I'm reading one of the articles about this acquisition. Actually, he was saying he saw him at a stand at I can't remember what show, it could have been CES, I think, and they were actually comparing their speakers to Sonos products and showing how much better audio quality you get from the size. Well, you can't
That's
beat them, join them,
yeah.
or you can't buy them. Sorry, if you can't beat
Well,
them,
yeah,
buy them.
well, that definitely is the logic, isn't it, of a
Yeah,
lot of these firms now. Why waste all the time and money on R&D when we'll just buy you? It's so
and
much easier.
someone's already spent that money and we'll just buy you. Yeah,
Interesting though, because if you think back in the day, that's what Bose were famous for, wasn't it? Do you remember the
yeah.
Bose famous little speakers, the alarm clock ones that you had?
Yes,
That had
yes.
that
Getting a
kind of
lot of
classic.
sound out a lot,
Yeah,
not a lot of space.
that's right, and they were super expensive, but that classic sort of, I want to say, almost like a rectangle oblong shape, wasn't it?
Yeah,
You had there, and I guess for Sonos, they've moved into other markets. They've done partnerships with other brands. IKEA's one that jumps out. I've got a couple of those symphonics
yeah. I need to buy a
speakers,
couple of those
which are
actually next
really
time I'm
nice. They're
up that
cheaper
way.
than the Sonos ones, but give you exactly the same capability, and they're AirPlay 2 as well. So nice little tack there.
And they
Um,
literally are bookshelf speakers, aren't they? You can
yeah,
slide those
literally, yeah, they
into a
just
bookshelf and look
yeah.
like a book.
Yeah, exactly. There's no irony there. They are, but yeah, it's very cool. Like and interesting. A sorry, not Danish. Excuse me. Dutch company, as you
Oh,
say.
Dutch is Dutch. Sorry, apologies.
Was it
Yeah.
Dutch or was it Danish? Did I misread that? I thought no, they
Oh,
were Dutch. They were Dutch. I knew I was reading my notes here.
Dutch.
Like no,
It's
I've got
me. I
Dutch.
didn't write it in my notes. I'm just going from
Ah,
memory. But
terrible, Carl. The production standards of this show are slipping even further underground.
research.
Yeah, Dutch company. So interesting because I don't know if you know, Bose have got their European headquarters are in Netherlands as well.
Yeah.
So interesting that they haven't picked these people up. So I guess Sonos got there first, and 100 million in greenbacks has sealed the deal,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Indeedy.
So I wonder what they will bring out. We're interested to see what it comes out. Probably won't be anything anytime
Will they make
soon, but
smaller products, or will they use that technology in the same kind of style and shape products just to make it better
louder.
quality and louder?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at. I've got a Bose, one of the little Bose Bluetooth speakers here right in front of
Yeah,
me. About the size of bit larger than the palm of your hand.
yeah,
Great little sound package here, but it's quite weighty, quite a heavy little thing. And it does take. It's powered by a USB, but
hmm.
like you say, something that can be low powered, potentially, solar is fantastic. Imagine the applications of that in gardens or out to pubs or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, definitely.
Cool. Very nice. I mean, I love things like that. I think great little thing, new tech, isn't it? As opposed to,
It is.
established stuff. Right then. So then, from
Oh,
small purchases to even bigger purchases again. Then
yeah. Yeah, a huge one, isn't it? 6.9 billion. So, Sailpoint, they're an identity access management
they are
company.
indeed.
It's a bit like Okta and Ping. They've been bought, say, for $6.9 billion by Thoma Bravo. Now, that's a company, not a person.
Just to be
I
clear,
read it as Thomas Bravo. I was like, well, he's got a lot of money. But no, it's Thoma, and that's a company. So
just to,
they're,
just
an
just
investment
to be
fund.
very clear here.
Yeah. So these were the same investment firm that led Sailpoint's first fundraising in
Oh,
2014,
okay.
but they've currently, they invest in things like McAfee, Sophos, Barracuda. Who else? Yeah, quite a few more. But they also got Proofpoint, so that they own Proofpoint as well.
Ah,
They bought them for 12.3 billion back in 2021.
so that's again taking them from public to private and return.
Yeah,
I
so I'm not sure. So Proofpoint were public and then went private, but I don't know
yeah,
if I think Sailpoint are they still private?
I think they were still private. I may be wrong
Yeah.
there. Uh, oh no, they can't be because no, we'll be being stupid. Sorry, it's a misread. Yeah, their stock had a 30% increase.
Ah, okay. So I imagine they will be taken private then.
Yeah, I think this is. I say it echoes proof point.
Proofpoint.
Couldn't get that word out. Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
So Sailpoint Technology Holdings, and they're on the the New York Stock Exchange under Sale. Great little tag there. They have a market cap of around 6 billion.
Okay,
So
so they
that's
paid a little over the odds.
yeah. So their stock was rallying high. Um, they had a rally of the stock on Monday the 18th, where they high of 64, but it has now leveled out around uh, just a 64 flat, give or take. So
Yeah.
it's trending quite high post the news of this acquisition. But yeah, Cellpoint, very interesting players. You say that in the identity and access market.
Yeah.
Again, similar places, Okta, who
Yeah.
we've spoken about recently. And again, they do a lot of network resources, and again, it's zero trust, isn't it? Which is another area. But yeah, I guess Thoma Bravo there, which is a Proofpoint, McAfee, Sophos, Barracuda, nice little portfolio they've got building up there, isn't it? Of
Yeah, it is.
of security firms. I wonder if there'll be any crossplay between them. I mean,
I don't
I wouldn't be
know.
surprised if they might want to. Um,
Hmm.
but
Could
it's
be.
identity and access is probably the hottest area right now, I think, in IT,
Huge.
isn't it? Um, cloud cloud has become standardized, but identity and access, and I think post COVID, as we saw the work from home and all of the ability for getting that network perimeter no longer being and the LAN as it used to be,
Yep.
is now
Yep.
everywhere that somebody logs in. So anything technologies that does that be interesting. But I wonder how many of the SailPoint team will stay on post acquisition, or whether it will be
I don't
a
know.
time to move on. But if
Depends how much Thomas Brava meddle, for want of a better word. What are their plans for them? If it's something like are they planning to completely strip them down, split things out? Are they just buying them to invest more money and sell it on later?
I
They
don't
might
know.
stay quite untouched from a operational point of view.
I
From day to day for people working there.
I would say they'll probably stay untouched. I think this is a long
Mm.
term investment strategy. I mean, you're taking
Yeah.
them private, you're paying a 48% increase above the 90-day stock average to the
Yeah.
shareholders. So that's kind of you see value in the firm there, isn't it?
Yes.
But yeah, as you say, perhaps it will be just kept as a separate business, in the same stable of companies then that
Yeah.
Tom
The same
Bravo have.
family. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't. Oh, I'm losing my voice. Identity and access market um, they reckon there's a growth of 10 billion within the next couple of years, which is a massive, massive growth area. You can see why
Yeah.
firms want to be here, don't they?
Yeah. There's
Um,
money to be made.
oh god, yeah, definitely money to be made. Um, but what I would ask is that just don't ruin it. Look after it, gentlemen. Look after it. So we've had Kaseya, we've had Sonos, we've had Sailpoint. So that's 6.2 billion, 100 million. 6.9 billion. Who else we got?
Well, this is an undisclosed someone. Undisclosed sum, I should say. So Intel, and this one's thrown me. So they've just acquired a Namkey, who provide open source software defined services for 5G.
Nanki.
So, you know, yeah, and Nenki sounds like an Amazon brand.
It does, doesn't it?
But their pitch is to make private 5G as easy to consume as Wi-Fi for enterprises. So it's a software-based 5G stack, small cell radios, SIM cards, dashboards, and for monitoring and analyzing network activity. But interesting, these were spun out of a non-profit
Yeah, I
called the
saw
Open
that.
Networking Foundation only a few months ago, and their aim was to commercialize this open source network technology. Well, Intel just went and bought them.
That I to me that looks like Intel knew exactly what was going on here,
Yeah,
and were like, we want that, and we're going to get it
yeah.
before anybody else does.
Exactly. So I mean, the plan is apparently to merge them into Intel's networking and edge group, but this is
Yeah,
what
open.
confuses
This
me.
is all the Open RAN stuff, isn't it? And
It
open, as you
is.
say, yeah,
But Intel got out of the cellular game back in 2019 when they sold their XMM modem division to Apple.
yeah. But it's not about the modems. It's now about the stack, isn't it? And
Well, it is
that's
about the
where,
stack, but Ananke do the whole stack, the software-based part of it, but also the cell radios, the SIM cards. They do the hardware as well.
yeah. But and that's what I'm saying. This is an interesting place. You're right. It's not Intel don't care about the I guess the lower level of it. They want the
No.
stack control. As you
Yep.
say, the software piece is really interesting, well, because people like VMware and own that stack as well. You've got companies like blah, blah, blah. What's the German telecoms company? Brain's gone dead.
Oh,
T-Mobile,
T-Mobile, yes.
T Systems, and all that. They do a lot. Deutsche Telekom, they do massive plays in that as well. They've got partnership with all of the main telcos want to get into that area and leverage basically the whole end-to-end stack. So
Yeah.
for Intel now to have a controlling part of that, which
Yeah.
as you say, it's been spun out of the foundation, so it's going to have standardized piece there. They can now commercialize all of that software that they've been building around the SD WAN and SD core SD RAN piece
Yeah.
and all that as well. Yeah, this is an interesting play. I suspect a lot of money changed hands here. Probably not quite 7 billion money, but a lot more money than it probably was to spin them out of the ONF.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
But the name of it though, where do we come up with these stuff?
And then who knows?
I bet you there is some, you know, where is it? Because I was when I was doing my research, I found something posted last year in September, which
Yeah.
it said which made me laugh when you think it aged well. The ONF conceives Ananke as Red Hat of the open source private
Ah.
5G, and yeah, and so it was to do with Ananke is a corporate entity or was a corporate entity to push the
Hmm.
Ether AETHER project as commercialized 5G, and that Ether, interestingly, got 30 million in funding from DARPA, the US Defense Research
Oh,
Project.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
And it builds up on uh, SD Core, SD Fabric, SD RAN, and it's all Kubernetes based and open sourced.
Yeah.
So Intel have made a very smart play here, haven't they, to do that?
They
That
have,
is
yeah.
a very, very tactical play to get in there and buy that before any other
And I
competitor does.
bet they didn't pay a lot for it.
No,
It's less than $1 billion, easily.
I reckon as long as they match the funding that the government have put in for
Yeah.
that project and gave them a return on that, yeah,
Couple 100 million, I reckon.
yeah, massively. And that seems to be money well spent because now they've got, well, it appears they've got the technology, they've probably got the people as well that conceived it. And now you've got integrated software stack that can work with hyperscalers, edge networks across multi-cloud, all the buzzwords. And I think very interesting play. And you're right, definitely not one that they'll be publicizing the numbers on this time anyway. Right.
No.
So then,
Talking of numbers.
I was going to say, from splashing the cash to taking a cut of the cash, eh?
Oh,
Meta.
wow. I mean,
Oh,
just
meta.
wow. Meta just continues to surprise me. They're like, I don't
You
know,
sure
the
about that?
Trump of the technology world. I mean, they've been very, very vocal about Apple's 30% cut, haven't they, of the App Store purchases, or sorry, 15% if you make it less than a million. But clearly, this is a case of do as I say and not as I do, because they've just announced their pricing of or their cut for their new, is it Horizons Worlds, their metaverse virtual world product, and all the ecosystem that goes with it. And are you ready for how much they're going to take from the developers?
Go on then. Go on.
47.5%.
Oh my. Oh dear. I'm sure Apple have got something to say about this, haven't they?
Oh, they have. So that's made up of 30% for the from the Meta Quest store, and Horizon World store or whatever will take 17.5%. So yeah. Apple have obviously taken the moment to have a pop at them for this, haven't they?
Why not?
Why not? I mean, they've got a statement here where they just belittle them. So Meta has repeatedly taken aim at Apple for charging developers a 30% commission for in-app purchases in the in-app store. I've used small businesses and creators as a scapegoat at every turn. Now, Meta seeks to charge those same creators significantly more than any other platform. Meta's announcement lays bare Meta's hypocrisy. It goes to show that while they seek to use Apple's platform for free, they happily take from their creators and small businesses that use their own, which pretty much sums it up.
It does, and you can't, and and during the Epic situation, Facebook or Meta, excuse me, were making comments, weren't they? They were apparently, siding with Epic to a degree
Yeah.
on the thing. They had some of their witnesses were Meta, well, they were Facebook at
Yes.
the time, but weren't they executives doing it? And it's just like they are living in a parallel universe to
But
now
yeah,
walk out the door and say, well, actually, 47.5% of these imaginary made up ones and zeros in its universe or whatever, metaverse. I
yeah.
mean, what a complete and utter kick
But
in
I
the
can see
face
where
at
they're
any
coming from. This is an absolute 47.5%. It's an absolute bargain compared to the Roblox store.
Oh, so what's that charge there? I mean, I know
So Roblox,
kids are all over that, aren't they? They but why?
Roblox takes 72%.
Good God!
So that
How
covers your app store fees, investment into the platform, and hosting and support costs for your content. So as a developer, you'll only take home on average 28% of the price
why?
that you charge.
Okay, then, well, why is nobody up in arms? Why are Roblox not being hauled in front of a federal judge?
Who knows? So I'm sure Meta's argument is that we're doing the same thing, but we're doing it for 30% cheaper.
That's just this is
It's
again.
insane, isn't it?
I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm on the side of Apple 100%, but they are right. It's hypocrisy, isn't it? Because you can't have this, and like I say, Roblox doing 70%, yet nobody's kicking up a storm there. The difference is the money, isn't it? That is the point here. It
It's
is
the
the amount of
scale of the
money
money,
and
yeah.
scale, isn't it? That is the argument here in that.
And that Facebook or Meta aren't paying Roblox anything because they're not in the Roblox
No.
ecosystem. They're only moaning about it because they're in the Apple ecosystem.
And wasn't there some NFT marketplace? I mean, don't get me started on NFTs, but were they taking
OpenSea.
2.5%? Yeah, that was it.
OpenSea.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2.5% or something like that. That's all they take.
I don't.
There is, I think, there is other charges. That's their commission, 2.5% of any sale. But if you are wanting to, I probably got terminology all wrong, mint an NFT or put it on the marketplace, there are other charges to do with the costs of. I think it uses the Ethereum
It does,
chain.
yeah, yeah.
So there are costs of getting your asset onto the Ethereum chain. And they can be fairly pricey, but then NFTs are fairly pricey too. So, but that's a one-off charge. It's not it's not a percentage cut. It's just a flat fee.
Very peculiar. I
Yeah,
don't get Meta. I don't. Well, I do get Meta, as in they want all the money. But what I
and
don't
all the
get is
data.
what I don't get is how they can be confident considering um considering like of all the backlash that Apple got for all of this for 30%.
And it's only 30% if you make over $1 million.
Yeah, yeah.
It's 15%
Yeah, I
otherwise.
know. That's what I mean. It's like it is absolutely nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how they can keep a straight face.
No, well, I'm sure they are. They are. They're just
They're
grinning.
laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, they're just laughing. I mean, I don't know. Look, I have to be upfront. I've not had a play in the metaverse or been in the metaverse, and quite
No,
frankly, I
no,
don't want to anytime soon.
no, no, me
Um,
neither.
but you can't escape what's happening, isn't it? You cannot escape it at all. Um,
No,
it's just it's just a complete and utter daylight robbery. But
yeah.
oh dear, well, Zuck, well done. You continue to give us things to talk about. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Oh, well, from one spyware to another, um,
Oh, smooth.
we have some news on so Reuters are reporting that senior officials at the EU Commission were targeted last year with spy software designed by an Israeli surveillance firm, according to two EU officials. And that Israeli firm was none other than NSO Group, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yes, the NSO Group, who have made waves in the last couple of years, haven't they? With particularly around the Pegasus spyware,
Yes.
which they then sold to various governments and law enforcement agencies the world over, didn't they?
Yeah.
And are also quite famous for buying 0 days, aren't they? The vulnerabilities
Yeah,
that
they do.
haven't been
Yeah.
patched yet. So this is then um, around, as you say, some EU officials,
Even the European
including one quite
Justice
high.
Commissioner, isn't it?
Yeah, one high profile target there. But NSO have completely, I must state, we kind of have to state this. So NSO, excuse me, have
UFO.
UFO have denied anything to do with this, haven't they? And they've,
They
said
haven't got a great past record, though.
no, no,
Lots of
but
contradictory statements going out, so I wouldn't take too much credibility in their denial.
no. So they're saying that they were, or Reuters, as you say, says that Apple alerted several of the EU Commission to say that
Yeah,
these users had done that. They had Didier Reynders, who is, as you say, he was a Belgian politician who was the European Justice Commissioner.
yeah,
There were four other staffers apparently targeted. Well, so this doesn't sound to me like a random attack. This sounds like a targeted
oh
piece
yeah,
there. And Apple had then issued alerts to thousands of iPhone users last November, telling them they were targeted by state-sponsored attackers. And obviously, Apple have done leaps and bounds since then. The amount of patching of iOS last year and
yeah,
continue to patch it around the Pegasus point here. So NSO have basically said, haven't they, that this could not have happened with NSO's tools, which I
well, it
think
could
is
have.
the best, the best. But interestingly, Reuters did point out, didn't they, that a similar spyware technology is sold by another Israeli company called Quadream, um,
Yeah,
which apparently is a long way. It's again, it's the piece of sending message, isn't it? So particularly in a lot of these
yeah,
cases, it's an iMessage that is composed with certain characters that when you open that message, it compromises your device. And there were some dodgy ones floating around last year, wasn't there? Around that were bricking phones and doing other stuff. But
yeah.
a Pegasus, though, I mean, for what it does, is quite clever. But the US has banned the import of it and the use of it. Uh, doesn't mean it's not there anymore. Let's be honest. I'm pretty sure the NSA and other three-letter acronym agencies probably still have a copy or reverse engineered it. Would you imagine?
I imagine so.
But the EU hasn't banned the import of it or use of it, which surprises me. Given that, why would you not? You know. Hmm.
Hmm. Well, unless you're using it,
I,
I don't know. I don't know.
I did see something really interesting. I was reading through the comments, which is we always say on this show, don't ever go down that rabbit hole.
Oh
Somebody
yeah,
pointed out there there was a comment in there, one around the stories that said Pegasus also probably hacked Android smartphones, but Android users don't get alerts from Google or any other Android OEM. And actually, when you think about it, that's spot on, isn't it?
yeah. I imagine so.
There's none of that. So how many Android devices are compromised? And you can't tell me for a second that there are no 0 days for for Google.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Again, there's not much detail around what was hacked, if anything was taken here or they were compromised. But what I would say is that this is probably just a tip of a very big iceberg, isn't it?
Massively, yeah. There's a lot more of that out there.
Yeah. So I mean, I did read when I was doing the research, which I had missed, that they do think that somebody in the UK, in the cabinet office in the UK,
Yeah.
was infected, and that device did connect to a network at number 10. as well, along with other politicians in the Catalan area of Spain.
Oh wow.
With the with the likely culprit there may have been the Spanish government. Uh, I wonder why.
Right.
Um,
Uh-huh.
so yeah, I mean, Apple are never going to publish true stats on this, are they? Of how many devices have been published? But
No.
I personally would be very, very
Yeah,
interested
how
to.
widespread is this?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Food for thought, my friend. Food for thought. Right then,
Yeah.
let's talk chips because we love chips in this program. And no, and I don't mean the potato variety with lots of salt because they're
Well, I
just as
could
good.
do some of those. I'm hungry at the moment.
It's time. Yeah, it's close for lunch. This is around TSMC then, and well, are Intel snapping at the heels of TSMC? I know that was a statement we didn't expect to probably be saying for a little while yet,
Oh, yeah.
but TSMC themselves may
Yeah.
be suggesting that that might be the case, aren't they? From some of the releases they put out.
Yeah, they had one of their I suppose, financial quarterly reviews, whatever, and they basically said that they're going to be delaying the start of their production at a 2 nanometer node until the second half of 2025, or possibly even at the end of that year. Meaning we're probably not likely to see them in products till probably 2026 at the earliest, I'd imagine. Now, this came on the heels of Intel's announcement just a couple of days beforehand, saying that it's a 18A node.
Just yeah,
Snappy. Yep.
yeah, you're gonna have to make clear on that because
We will do. We'll now be ready for manufacturing in the second half of 2024 rather than 2025. So their 18A node is actually 1.8 nanometer nodes. And they also have a 20A node. And guess what that is? It's 2 nanometers. And that's actually expected in the first half of 2024. So, I mean, Intel are quite optimistic here. They are actually releasing, 5 nodes in 4 years. So you've got we've got our 7 nanometer basically now. We've got the 4 nanometer in the second half of this year, 3 nanometers in first half of 23, and then 20 nanometers, sorry, 2 nanometers in first half of 24, and so on and so on. So yeah, they are being very, very quick apparently to get these out the door.
yeah, because you should say so. TSMC have said their 2 node will be production by 2025, isn't
Second
it?
half of 2025, or
Yeah,
possibly the end of 2025. Yeah,
but the Intel 18A, which equates to was it
yeah,
angstroms, so that's 1.8 nanometer because an angstrom is smaller than a nanometer. Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah. I
So
think so.
effectively two. Let's call it 2 nanometer to be straightforward, isn't it? 1.8 is the second half of 24. Now,
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that we'll have full runs of production, and TSMC are probably going to get ahead of them on that stage once they ramp
yeah,
up, aren't they? But
yes,
yeah, this means that Intel could be first to market with at least a demo unit, I suppose. Um,
yeah. Which
given
I
though
never thought would
well,
hear from
no,
Intel because they've not had a great track record of even getting down to 5, let alone
well,
1.8.
well, this is the thing because didn't we have last year we had the whole renaming, as you said, didn't they? So
Yeah,
the 10 Intel's 10 nanometer enhanced super thin node, which again snappy title, was known is now referred to as Intel 7, isn't it? And which
yeah,
doesn't mean that it is a 7 nanometer
no,
process, but they feel that it's comparable to, say, TSMC 7 nanometer. And their Intel 4, which is then previously was the 7 nanometer,
yeah,
is comparable to 4 nanometer roll. So actually, Intel actually haven't got 7 or 4 nanometers. They're just basically
no.
saying that, well, we think it works just as good,
And
which
it's not till they
puzzles
get to the
me.
20A or 18A that they're actually naming their products after,
The actual where they
the
are.
nanometers. Yeah,
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it's a hell of a jump. I mean, you can't deny that whatever's going on over there at the Intel Chocolate Factory is it's quite impressive. Pat is moving heaven and earth to get Intel back on the road, isn't he? And
he is.
this is, and we're talking here design. We're not talking production because most of their fabs that they've talked about are nowhere close to
No, they've got to be
manufacturing
built
stage.
first, these fabs.
Yeah, 2025 probably is the latest, the earliest you're going to see any fabs, isn't it? Realistically, especially
Yeah,
the Arizona ones. But what will be the true output here is going to be the performance, isn't it? And whether or not TSMC, but what they're going to produce, which will be things like Samsung chips
yeah.
and other competing, and AMD obviously as well, isn't it? Whether or not that'll beat Intel on performance, thermal output, and also power consumption as well. Those are the key metrics that
The
we care
power.
about. Yeah,
Just got to
power.
rein that in. And obviously, TSMC are making Intel's GPUs, aren't they?
They are indeed, which I guess is a good segue
It
into
is.
the next piece, isn't it?
It is. So we've had some interesting benchmarks results leaked, haven't we, of Intel's upcoming flagship desktop GPU, the Arc A770. So these have been found on Geekbench, which is quite a popular benchmark tool.
Ah,
This is the
yes.
OpenCL benchmark rather than the more traditional OpenGL DirectX kind of benchmark. Um, so we've got some information out of it. It's got 512 compute units. It's clocked at 2400 megahertz. The memory, strangely, is reporting as 12.7 gigabytes, but it could just be a reporting error. It's an unknown chip. Now, we probably need to take these with a pinch of salt. Well, one, because it's in a public database, but two, it's based on OpenCL, and that's not generally used for gaming.
Hmm.
It's generally used, to allow programs to be written once and then run across multiple different platforms, such as CPU, GPU. So it's quite often used in things like video editing programs, DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro, Vegas Pro, Handbrake, because they can shift workloads between the CPU and the GPU to encode, but only writing one set of actual code. But yeah, I'm not sure what to make of these. And I say they're not representative of actual gaming performance, but Intel are coming in at 85,500. I don't know, score, marks, whatever we're going to call this,
Yeah.
things. But that pretty much bang on compares to the NVIDIA's RTX 2070 at 85.8 and AMD's 6600 XT at 82,500. But these are last generation cards, not current generation, aren't they?
No, but my view here is that, as you said, this is not this is OpenCL, so this isn't
Yeah.
real
This is
performance.
compute performance rather than
But given I think
graphics
to be
performance.
really optimistic and realistic here, I think to come in not and to pick up the GPU market where it's already established and at the door, and to come in with that is good. And to me, something this tells me this isn't production. This isn't here. We're seeing
Yeah.
testing coming up, but to compete at 2070 isn't too bad. Now you're right. 2070 and an RTX 6600 are not today's flagship cards, but I'm
No.
running a 27 Super. It does play most stuff, and again, this is only OpenCL. We're not seeing
Yeah.
other performance here, and again, we're not fully understanding what the
No.
bottleneck, because this was paired, wasn't it? Didn't they say it was paired with the 9600?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
So that could be a bottleneck.
yeah,
But to compare it to a current generation card, the 3080s clocking at 181,000. So good
yeah.
100,000 jump, more or less.
It is. I do think, though. I think Intel are targeting mainstream. So
Yeah, this isn't
it's
designed to be like Nvidia with their CUDA and do compute and
no,
stuff like that. It's
no,
just purely aimed at gaming and stuff and media encoding.
no. There's going to be high-end cards. There will be competitive cards, but the bulk of them are going to be mainstream, aren't they?
Yeah. Now this is only their A series, isn't it? Their Alchemist. I don't think we're going to see truly competitive to Nvidia and AMD's, cutting edge ones until we get to, is it Battle Mage and Celestial B and
Yeah,
C?
yeah. I
So this is
that
their first stab at it in a
yeah,
very, very long time.
and that's a couple of years out, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
What we've just talked about there. But I mean, I'm interested. I think it's good. It could have been a lot worse.
It could have been a lot worse. Yeah.
So 2070, if that's where they're coming in, and don't forget, these are Geekbench. This isn't official. This isn't, people actually getting them. This is these kind of we also see it with Apple, don't we? So popping up in other chips.
And this is purely compute. It isn't graphical
Exactly.
performance. It's the ability for the GPU to take a compute workload and process it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not bad at all. Okay. Well, we'll see what comes out then. Right then, I think then, unless I've missed something, it's time
Nope.
for the Tech Rant Rumor Mill. So, Carl, dig deep. What have you got for us this week?
Well, I haven't just. What have we got first? Quo. It's not an Apple one. It's not an Apple one, but we've
What
got
the
some of
hell?
that later.
I've sat down. That's all right. I am sat down.
Yeah, this one threw me. I was like, oh, no, it's not Apple. This is actually, he has some rumors about Meta's upcoming high-end VR headset. He's saying it will launch the second half of this year. Comes with two 2160 by 2160 mini LED panels for the displays, and these panels are dual element pancake lenses, which should make it a lot thinner than the current models. Um, Meta are expecting to ship 1 to 2 million units this year, and it's going to support things like facial expression recognition. Now, he's calling this the Oculus Quest 2 Pro, although he was calling it the Quest 3 back in January. But to me, this sounds very much like Meta's Project Cambria headset, their professional one they spoke about earlier in the year, and the specs more or less line up identically. So
But
either
he's not convinced that is, though, is it?
I don't know. So I mean, either this is another new product line, so we're going to get Project Cambria and the Quest 2 Pro, which are almost identical, or he's got the name wrong.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. It could be that he's got the name wrong. That would seem logical.
Because Meta very specifically said when they were talking about Project Cambria that this was not a Quest product line, so it's not going to be called Quest when it comes out.
Okay. So
I mean, it could be lying. It could be Quest Pro product line, which is technically not a Quest product line.
No. I mean, you've got to ask some questions here, isn't it? So we know it's not. So it's not a Quest 3.
Yeah.
It hasn't got high enough resolution for mixed reality. So it is a VR headset then.
Yeah.
It does. These new pancake lenses are interesting. So the design will be unlike existing Oculus VR headsets then with the shape and phone. It's got eye and face tracking, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yes, that's Meta want to go with the metaverse, isn't it? They want you to put a digital you in there and track where you're looking at and track your facial expressions and reload that onto your avatar.
And then obviously, and it will launch this year. So those, I mean, that's some, to me, that can't be. I mean, it could be Cambria. It could be Cambria.
That's literally everything it says there is identical to what we pretty much know from Meta themselves.
That's what I'm saying. But that's the best. This is the overlap, isn't it? Of is it or isn't it? I mean, it could be that they're spinning out two headsets, and that one is more of a
Cambria, slightly cut it down and shift it as a Quest.
Yeah, more as a mainstream one. And as opposed to a high-end pro one. But I don't know. More details need to come for this.
Yeah.
More details. Well, I'm just still shocked that Quo has not got an Apple one left this week. But we're not short of Apple, though, are we? Because I did see in the pot, there was another Apple rumor in the pot.
It's not just one Apple rumor.
Well, a whole table load of them.
Yeah, we've got all the goodies. So Gurman is apparently saying we're going to get 9 new Macs shortly. Most are
that's a shock.
Yeah, so we're going to get he's a bit light on details. We're going to get a MacBook Air with an M2 chip and 10 GPU cores. We're going to get an entry-level MacBook Pro with the same M2 as the Air, so identical, just different chassis. What else are we going to get? So we're then going to get a new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros, both with M2 Pro and M2 Max configurations. Now, he has got a little leak on the M2 Max saying it's going to have 12 CPU cores and 38 graphics cores. So that's 2 more CPUs and 6 more GPUs than the current M1 Max. One for you, Jay. We're going to get a Mac Mini with an M2, but we're also going to get a Mac Mini with an M1 Pro.
Oh, that's interesting. So is the M2 then going to be less powerful than an M1 Pro?
M1 Pro? I don't know. Would Apple release another M1 product now? If they're now talking about the M2s?
I don't see them doing it. I see Apple now moving into an iPhone style upgrade approach where each generation gets a new iteration of a CPU.
Yearly.
Or if it's not a new iteration, it's an X. Because it will get to the point where they can't keep doing that. So I think you'll see things like M2 Pro X or M2 Pro. You see where I'm going with that, yeah?
Yeah.
Though, interestingly, just on that point, talking on would they do that? Remember the other rumor of the iPhone 14 saying that the low-end models of the 14 will have the same processor as the 13.
Yes, and only the high-end ones will get a new where are we at? So I've got A16.
So the 15 will stay within the lower end, and I think for a lot of consumers, they don't care. And I think that's the same potentially with if you're buying a Mac, and I don't mean a MacBook Pro, but if you're just buying an entry-level Mac, you want it to do the job that you're buying it for, not necessarily
Yeah.
because it's got the fastest swinging processor.
No, at
Uh,
this point in time, I think you're right. Especially with phones, it's much for muchness now. It's only really us kind of suppose geeks that really want all the cutting edge and are excited by what it brings. Whilst your average consumer just like, yeah, it's a phone.
yeah, that's my logic on that. But I don't. So I would be surprised to see them drop an M2 and then push out another M1 piece. But it, I would imagine more that they'll drop an M1 Pro Mac Mini and then an M2.
Yeah,
That would
maybe.
seem wouldn't that more logic, wouldn't it? Because but the problem you've got, and I think as Gerben kind of alluded to, was how would that compete against? Why would you buy that when for a few extra dollars you could get the base model Studio?
I don't know how much more is it going to be. The base studio is what 2,000 more or less, slightly less, and the
Yeah, give or
base
take.
Mac Mini is 600. That's quite a lot of change in between.
Yeah, well, I
If
suppose
you bought
yeah.
an M1 Pro in I don't know 1,100, 1,200, even 999.
Yeah, as we spoke about the other week, I wonder whether or not that they're going to target the Mac Mini is going to become just the base desktop your option.
Yeah.
That's my view anyway. But, all right, what else have we got then? What else we got on that
Our
point?
final one, our ninth one, we have the successor, the Mac Pro, with its successor to the M1 Ultra chip, so an M2 Ultra chip, I suppose. But that's all he said. No juicy information on that one.
Ah, interesting. Okay. Well, we are getting closer to WWDC. We're getting closer to more rumors, for the rest of the
Yep.
year. I think we're going to see, more tidbits of an M2 dripping. I wouldn't be surprised if Apple um, do do allude to information to
Yep.
WWDC. I think they might do. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the developers roadmap, there's a roadmap session or something. So there'll be leaks around that. But yeah, I think all looking good. Well then, I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up for today then. So you can find us, of course, on techrant.online for all of our show notes and store information. And of course, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, wherever that might be. Share it with your friends, give us a like, tell everybody about us. Maybe not. Depends if you don't like it. But let us know. That would be good so we can fix it. And of course, we can find us on Twitter at Weekly Tech Rant, where again, we post all our show notes and links and encourage you to sign up there as well. So we'll be back next week for episode 85. Good God. Of all the latest shows, information, tech news, and probably more acquisitions. Who knows at this rate, if there's any money left. And with that, I've been Jay.
I've been Carl. Have a good day, all.